Aesop's Stories for Little Children. Narrated by Aunt Cat and music by Uncle Matt. The Fox and the Crow. It was a warm summer's day and Fox was feeling hungry. "The bees have honey," he sighed. "Rabbit has a carrot. What is there for me?" Then he smelled something delicious. He looked up, licking his lips. High in the treetops sat Crow, with a big chunk of crumbly yellow cheese in her beak. Fox closed his eyes and sniffed hungrily, but the cheese was far out of reach. What can I do? He gave a crafty smile. Fox cleared his throat loudly. "Oh, beautiful Crow," he began. Crow looked down, startled. No one had ever called her beautiful before. "What sleek, shiny feathers you have! What a fine midnight black they are!" Crow's beak was too full to reply, but she fluttered her wings proudly. Crow listened happily as Fox went on. "Is your singing voice as beautiful as your feathers?" he sighed. "I wish you would sing to me." Crow hopped shyly from foot to foot. "Please sing," begged Fox. "Please." Crow couldn't resist. She stretched her beak wide and screeched, "Caw, caw!" Down tumbled the cheese. Snap! Straight into Fox's waiting jaws. "Give it back!" Crow flapped furiously. "Hey!" she snapped. "That is my cheese!" Fox gulped it down and gave a broad, cheesy grin. "Not anymore," he laughed. That was delicious." Fox padded away chuckling. Crow was cross, but she had learned her lesson. Don't be fooled by flattery. The Hare and the Tortoise. Hairy Hare loved to run. He loved the feel of the wind in his ears. He loved zooming past other animals. And he loved telling everyone how absolutely amazingly fast he was. One day, Harry was boasting to Tom Tortoise. "I could beat anyone in a race," he bragged. "Really?" said Tom, getting to his feet. "Well, why don't you race me?" "Ha ha 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 ha!" Harry exploded with laughter. "You?" he snorted. "Tommy Slow Coach?" Tom nodded. "Well, why not?" he insisted. "Are you worried about losing?" "Of course not," giggled Harry. "It'll be a laugh." On the day of the race, Harry got up before dawn. He couldn't wait to start racing, so he went for a run by himself. Tom Tortoise, on the other hand, got up at his usual time and had his usual breakfast, 4 cherry buns and a big pot of tea. Lots of animals came to watch the start. Harry chatted happily to his fans. Tom's friends looked worried. "Do you want to call it off?" asked Squirrel. "Harry's very fast, you know." "Take your places," called Old Brown Owl. Harry tapped a toe impatiently while Tom crawled over. "Hurry up!" Owl raised a red flag. "On your marks! Get set! Go!" Harry zoomed into the distance as Tom plodded slowly over the line. Halfway around the course, Harry paused. Tom was nowhere in sight. "Winning will be a piece of cake," he thought. Cake. His tummy rumbled. He had been too busy to bother with breakfast. "I'm so far ahead, it won't matter if I stop for a minute." He flung himself down in the shade. picked up an apple and began to munch. Then, he yawned. The grass was very soft, and he had been up very early. "I'll just shut my eyes for a moment," he mumbled. Seconds later, there was a faint snore. Harry was fast asleep. Meanwhile, Tom plodded patiently on. Hours passed. Slowly but surely, step by tiny tortoise step. "Come on, Tom! You can do it!" The finish line drew closer. Harry woke with a start. How long had he been asleep? He sprang to his feet and raced off. There was the finish line. Already he could hear a distant roar. "Hurrah! They're cheering for me," he chuckled. But what was that? A small shape was creeping up to the finish. "Oh no!" Harry gasped, putting on an extra burst of speed. "Look, it's Harry! Where have you been?" He dived over the line. Too late! Tom Tortoise had won, and he wasn't even out of breath. Slow and steady wins the race. The Ant and the Grasshopper. It was a glorious summer's day. Grasshopper chirped and sang sunny songs. Ant was too busy to sing. He huffed and he puffed and he groaned as he hauled food away to his winter store. Grasshopper smiled and lay back on a leaf, drowsy and dozing in the sun. After a while, he called out to Ant. "You're working too hard." "I have to," Ant panted. "There's so much to do. I must collect all this food for the winter." "But winter is ages away," said Grasshopper. "Enjoy the sunshine with me while you can." "Winter may seem ages away," Ant replied, "but it will come all too swiftly. If you don't work now, why, when the sun has long gone and the earth is sleeping, you will be cold and hungry." Grasshopper laughed and sang on. Ant huffed and he puffed and carried more corn. Sure enough, winter crept over the earth. Trees stood bare against the bleak sky. Snow dusted the fields. Tucked up snug in his little home, Ant looked at his food store and smiled. He had boxes galore, plenty to keep him fed until the spring buds blossomed. Outside in a blustery gale, Grasshopper scrunched himself up, trying to shelter behind a leaf. But the wind blew through his trembling body, however tightly he curled. His tummy ached with hunger. At last, he fought through the wind to Ant's house. "Ant, help!" Grasshopper shouted. Ant poked his head outside his door. "Grasshopper, you look frozen!" he cried. "Come inside and get warm." "Thaw out by the stove," said Ant, "and I'll make supper." Grasshopper beamed. He could almost taste the toasted corn already. "Thank you, Ant. I promise next summer I'll work too." It's best to be prepared. The Greedy Dog. Dog was padding along, dreaming about dinner. He had already polished off a slice of steak, half a ham, and a whole string of sausages. What can I eat next? He wondered. Eventually he came to a town. It was market day. and something smelled delicious. Dog sniffed happily and trotted closer. What's that? Ooh, look at that big, juicy bone. He drooled, his tongue hanging out in delight. I've got to have it. The butcher was busy selling sausages. No one noticed Greedy Dog. Slowly, silently, he crept closer and closer. His teeth closed around the bone. Snap! Hey! And he sprinted away before anyone could stop him. Soon, the town was far behind. I'm so clever! Dog wagged his tail with satisfaction. Now I have my bone to eat, he thought. I just need something to drink. His path ran past a rippling river. That water looks good, thought Dog. Huh? Dog padded over to the water's edge. He peered down and saw another dog gazing back at him. What was more, the other dog had a bone too. His bone, it's bigger than mine, thought Dog crossly. It's not fair. His bone looks so big and juicy. I've got to have it. How can I make him drop it? Dog bared his sharp white teeth and let out a fierce growl. The dog in the water growled back just as fiercely. Dog wasn't going to give up. He raised his hackles and barked furiously. Woof, woof, woof. Uh-oh! His big, beautiful bone dropped out of his mouth and fell, splosh, into the river. Ripples spread across the surface. The other dog vanished. And so did Dog's bone. No! Whined Dog. He reached after it, but the water was too deep. Now I have nothing. His bone had sunk without a trace. Too late, Dog realized. There was no dog in the water, and there was no other bone. He had been jealous of his own reflection. Be happy with what you have. The Lion and the Mouse. One long, hot afternoon, Lion was snoozing in the shade. When pitter-patter, swish, swish, a little tail brushed the tip of his nose. Achoo! Sneezed Lion. He awoke with a start. How dare you disturb me? Lion snarled at a terrified mouse. I'm so sorry, stammered the mouse. I didn't mean to. I didn't realize. Do you know what I do to those who wake me? Lion roared. I eat them up. Please don't eat me, begged the mouse. Spare my life today, and maybe one day I'll save yours. Ha ha ha, you? Scoffed Lion. What could you ever do to help me? Run along, little mouse. I'm laughing too much to eat you. And the mouse ran as fast as she could. The very next day, Lion walked straight into a hunter's trap. Help! He roared, and he struggled. But the more he struggled, the tighter the trap became. I'm stuck, he realized. I'll never get out. But the little mouse heard his cries. She rushed to his side. Don't worry, she squeaked. I've come to save you. What can you do? Groaned Lion. You're much too small to help me. The mouse ignored him and set to work. She nibbled and gnawed at the gnarly old ropes. She nibbled all day and all night. At last, as the sun rose in the sky, Lion was free once more.
"You saved me,"
said Lion, holding her gently in his paw.
"I was wrong to laugh at you, little mouse. I see size doesn't matter after all."
Little friends can be great friends. The Fox and the Stork. Fox and Stork were the best of friends. Well, most of the time. "Ha ha! You meanie!" Fox loved playing tricks, whether his friends enjoyed them or not. One day, Fox dreamed up a brand new trick. This will be fun. A trick that he could play over dinner. He wrote out a fancy invitation, "I'm making soup," and presented it to Stork. All afternoon, Fox simmered and stirred. Delicious smells wafted through the woods. When Stork arrived, Fox ladled spoonfuls of steaming soup into dishes. Wide, flat dishes. Stork watched hungrily. Splosh! Poor Stork! She poked and she pecked, but she couldn't fit her beak into the dish. Splash! However hard she tried, she couldn't swallow a drop. Fox smirked and slurped his soup. He finished every last drop. "Not hungry? I'll eat yours." Stork scowled. "It's time to teach Fox a lesson," she thought. The next day, Stork invited Fox to dinner. Once again, the smell of simmering soup filled the air. Fox licked his lips as he walked through the woods. Fox watched eagerly while Stork ladled the steaming soup into jars. Tall, thin jars. Poor Fox! He squashed and he squeezed, but he couldn't fit his nose into the jar. However hard he tried, he couldn't swallow a drop. Stork smiled and sipped her soup. Fox folded his arms in a huff. "That was a rotten trick," he growled. "You tricked me first," Stork pointed out quietly. "Let's be friends again." Fox and Stork parted best friends once more. "I'm sorry," called Fox. "I won't play any more tricks. Until next time, treat others as you would like them to treat you." The Tortoise and the Eagle. It was a perfect day in the orchard. The sun shone and the wind whispered softly in the trees. But Tortoise wasn't happy. "Oh, it's just terrible being a tortoise." His friends were puzzled. "Why are you so glum?" they asked. "You have a lovely log to sit on, yummy apples to eat, and a very shiny shell." But Tortoise just mumbled and grumbled. "Oh, it's terrible being me." All day long, he watched an eagle in the sky. She swooped down low and soared up high. Her golden feathers shimmered in the sun. Tortoise watched in wonder. "I wish I could fly like that." So he decided to try. He closed his eyes, gritted his teeth, flapped his arms, and hopped. But he couldn't get into the sky. "I know," said Tortoise. "I need to start up high." He clambered onto a rock, jumped into the air, and landed splosh on the soggy grass. "Woof!" "I know," he said again. "I need to start up higher." So he climbed a tree, flung himself off, and landed splat in a muddy puddle. "Argh!" He called to the eagle up above. "Eagle! Eagle! Flying so high! Won't you take me into the sky?" The golden bird swooped down from the clouds. "Little tortoise," she squawked, "why do you wish to fly?" Tortoise puffed up his chest and answered proudly, "So I can be just like you." "I'll give you my log to rest on," said Tortoise, "and you can have my juicy apples to eat." "Very well," said the eagle. "I will take you into the sky." The eagle grasped Tortoise in her claws. She flapped her enormous wings. Up and up they rose, up through the clouds, into the bright blue sky. The wind tickled Tortoise's face. "I'm flying!" he laughed. They rose higher and higher. Below them, the trees looked tiny. The tortoise gazed at the ground. It was a very long way down. His head felt dizzy. His tummy went wobbly, and then he started to cry. "Eagle! Eagle! Take me down! I don't like it up in the sky!" The eagle carried the tortoise back to the ground. "Little tortoise," she said, "you have no feathers. You have no wings. You are not made for flying. Keep your apples and your log. Be a tortoise and be happy." Tortoise watched the eagle soar up and away. He munched his apples, he sat on his log, and he no longer wanted to fly. It's terrific being a tortoise. Be happy with who you are. The Sun in the Wind. It was a fine summer's day. The sun beamed down. He was pleased to see everyone enjoying themselves. "Look at me," he said, smiling. "Humph," huffed the wind grumpily. "Listen to me." He blew a sudden squall, whipping up the waves, snatching sun hats and upending umbrellas. "Stop," said the sun. "Those people want to be warm." He shone so brightly, ice creams began to drip. "Oops," he laughed. "I'm too strong." "But I'm stronger," boasted the wind, blowing dark storm clouds across the sky. He needs to be taught a lesson, the sun thought. "You stronger than me?" repeated the sun. "Prove it. See that man? I bet you can't take off his coat." "I bet I can," roared the wind. Puffing out his cheeks, he blew a great gust. The birds turned somersaults in the air, and the man nearly fell over backwards. That won't work, laughed the sun. Look, he's cold. He's buttoning his coat. The wind blew harder still. The man put up his hood and pulled his coat tighter. The wind blew his hardest, and the man hurried into his shelter.
I give up,
groaned the wind, exhausted. My turn, said the sun. The wind was still. The man looked out. The sun shone down gently, and the birds started singing again. The man pulled back his hood. He's warm now, said the sun. The sun shone with all his might. The man smiled and unbuttoned his coat. When he reached the beach, he took it off altogether. I win, laughed the sun. The wind blew away in a huff, leaving the man to bask in glorious golden sunshine. Gentleness is better than force. The Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. In among the waving grasses lay a little brown country mouse, fast asleep. His name was Pippin. He dreamed of crunchy seeds and juicy red strawberries. Every evening, Pippin pattered home to his little house in the leafy hedge. Until one cold winter's day, there was a rat-a-tat-tat at his door. Pippin! Cried a voice. It was Toby Town Mouse, come to stay. Oh, my whiskers! Cried Pippin. He rushed to his pantry for his best nuts and berries. Is this all you have? Asked Toby Town Mouse. In town, we eat like kings. I think you'd better come and stay with me. The mice scampered to the station early next morning. The train trundled in with a snort and a shriek. It's huge! Gasped Pippin. It's like a big red beast! They wriggled inside a man's green bag and were lifted aboard. Then, chugga 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 choo-choo! They were off! Pippin gazed out the window at trees waving their branches. Soon there were no trees at all, just tall buildings that touched the sky. At last! Cried Toby, sniffing the air. We're here! They ran out of the station onto a busy street. Help! Squeaked Pippin, dodging in and out of stamping feet. Hurry up, Pippin! This is it, said Toby, proudly pointing his paw. My house. They crept through a crack under the blue front door. Toby led Pippin down under the floor, up secret stairs behind the walls, and into a splendid dining room. The mice munched and crunched and scooped cream with their paws until they were perfectly full. Hiccup! They woke with a start as the table shook. My dinner time, purred the kitchen cat. Juicy little mice! Run! Squeaked Toby. The mice darted this way and that. Bounce, bounce, went the hungry cat. She swiped at Pippin with sharp pointing claws. Quick, Pippin, into this hole! Pippin ran. The cat leaped and missed. Curses! She hissed. Oh, my whiskers, said Pippin, mopping his brow. I want to go home. Oh, why?
This town life is too much for me.
Toby took Pippin to the station and waved goodbye. Pippin gazed again as tall buildings flashed past his eyes. In the starry dark, Pippin finally reached his hedge. He sniffed the cold, sweet air and smiled. Then he snuggled down in his soft, mossy bed. "This is the life for me," he said. Each to their own.